With UFC 296 coming up in a week's time, I thought we would actually take a look at this main event because a lot of people seem to think that Leon Edwards is going to run through Colby Covington, and that could not be further from the truth. But I think a lot of people take a look at Leon's fights with Kamaru Usman and therefore draw the comparisons between Usman and Colby. But these two do not necessarily fight the same way at all, and I'm going to break down why Colby is actually a harder fight for Leon than Usman was. But before we figure this out, we need to understand what these two guys are. Leon Edwards is a very patient striker who's very precision-based in everything he does, hence why his striking accuracy is actually so high. And ever since Leon fought Kamaru Usman the first time way back in 2015, Leon kind of made the adjustments within his grappling to improve to a much higher level than he was back then. Whereas Colby is a constant pressure striker who has elite wrestling, very similar to Kamaru Usman. However, one thing to note with Kamaru Usman versus Colby Covington, where the similarities do end with these two, is the fact that Colby throws a lot more combinations. He's a little bit more wild within his attacks. Usman's a lot more measured. Jab, right hand, another jab, might throw an occasional front kick to the body. He throws very simple techniques, doesn't throw a whole lot of combinations, whereas Colby's swarming you. He's throwing a jab, a straight, a hook, a body shot, a body kick, a flying knee. He's throwing in all these volume strikes to set up his takedowns, whereas Usman's a lot more precision and sniper based and almost played that patient striking game with Leon. Colby's not going to do that. And even if you want to talk about the wrestling, Colby's wrestling hasn't ever really declined. He's never really gotten worse with it. Usman seemingly has gotten worse within his takedown offense, at least, because his knees are just absolutely shot at this point, so it's very difficult for him to shoot for takedowns and secure them. And one other massive difference between Colby and Kamaru is the fact that Colby has actually got some pretty good BJJ. He utilizes it very well from the top position, securing the back, trying to dig in hooks for rear naked chokes, or even if he's not trying to secure it, just to suffocate you and tire you out. Whereas Kamaru Usman doesn't really have the BJJ, and we do know that Leon Edwards will give up his back a lot. Like every single time against Kamaru Usman, he was giving up the back. It was able to get away with it because Kamaru Usman is like zero Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Colby's going to jump on your back if you give him that opportunity. And honestly, I believe this is one of those fights where a lot of people are unnecessarily writing off Colby Covington because yes, he hasn't been active. Granted, yes, you can argue he hasn't beaten the best competition, but his fights with Usman showed he is absolutely top of the food chain in this division. And I think a guy like Leon, who plays it extremely patient, and Colby's going to constantly be disrupting his rhythm, throwing strikes out there, throwing lots of volume, setting up for takedowns. It might put Leon in a position where he never really gets a chance to get going. It might be similar to how Leon was fighting in the second fight against Usman, where he was he was backing up a lot. He wasn't necessarily throwing out a whole lot of offense. He was starting to fatigue, and yes, that fight was at altitude, but that's what Colby is going to make Leon look like, that the fight's at altitude, even though it's not. Now, if you want to flip the coin here and say, where are Colby's biggest weaknesses? Colby's biggest weaknesses, in my opinion, revolve in his striking defense. He's not bad with his striking defense, but there are times where Colby will get caught in exchanges like he did against Jorge Masvidal, like he will against Kamaru Usman. He'll sometimes get a bit wild and he'll drop his hands or maybe he'll raise his chin in the air slightly, trying to just, overwhelm his opponents. He does leave himself open to a lot of counter strikes, where I believe that Leon Edwards is going to be able to capitalize in certain situations. I don't think that the pound for pound headshot dead head kick is necessarily going to be available there. I don't think he should be throwing those too much against Colby. Against Usman, he was able to get away with it a bit more because Usman doesn't really chain wrestle. Colby will chain wrestle, and he will duck underneath that head kick, shoot for single legs, and potentially even get a double leg and, throw you to the ground or whatever. But Kamaru Usman doesn't really chain wrestle, so you're able to get away with that stuff a little bit more. But like I said before, Leon Edwards is extremely precise in everything that he does, and I believe that is going to get Colby caught at certain points. But Leon, yes, he did knock out Kamaru Usman with a head kick, but that's also a head kick, for God's sake. One where Usman took flush and leaned into it, didn't see it coming, and knocked him out. But besides that, Leon's not really known to be a one-shot knockout artist. He doesn't really put people away with one shot. He kind of just picks at you and pokes at you and almost plays the point game, in a sense, for 5 rounds. And even in the third Usman fight, Edwards was able to catch Usman with that high kick. Like, not as flush as the second fight, but was still able to catch him with it. But he wasn't able to put Usman away. And that's because Usman didn't lean flush into it. He was able to see it coming. And Usman does also have a very good chin. But Colby Covington also does have a very good chin, a very good heart. The man does not give up. And honestly, I believe that this is more of a pick'em fight than I think people realize. I think a lot of people don't like Colby, so they kind of just like to go off of, Leon's going to win, Leon's going to dominate, this, that, blah, blah, blah. But honestly, guys, this is going to be a great main event. I know people are writing it off. Trust me, you do not want to do that. This fight will absolutely be a very good fight to watch. And I'm not saying that, one guy's going to win or the other. I am leaning towards Colby. That is my official prediction as of right now. But I'm not confident in that pick. Colby's older. He hasn't fought in a while. Leon's very precise with his strikes. Colby's striking defense isn't necessarily fully there. It's very hard for me to know who's going to win, but Colby will put on a pressure and pace that Leon has never faced. Even in the Usman fights, he won't have to face what Colby will put on him. So yeah, that's my overall thoughts and, opinions on this upcoming main event. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. It should be a very interesting fight. I'm very excited for it. So let me know who you guys think is going to win down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and make sure to subscribe for more. Peace!